Now, I may be a few years behind on this one, but I have just finished watching through the series Breaking Bad. The series follows Walter White, a high school teacher who is, by all appearances, a normal guy. Very talented, but a normal guy. And as we go through the series, gradually Walter transforms from this unassuming man into the most hardened criminal in all America. And all the way through the series, we see that Walter White continually is confronted with these decisions that he has to make, and each decision has a consequence. And ultimately, the question that is continually being asked throughout Breaking Bad is, do your actions define who you are? Because as we see Walter's transformation from an innocent, unassuming man into a hardened criminal who thinks nothing of murdering someone, we can see that the answer seems to be, well, yes, our actions do define us. Our actions do catch up with us. Well, this question of what defines me is a question for our age, and the Bible has an answer for that. Look with me down at Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 4 to 5. The word of the Lord came to me, saying, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." Now, in the first chapter of Jeremiah, we're introduced to the book's main character, Jeremiah, the prophet. And what do we know about Jeremiah? Well, we know he's quite an emotional bloke. We can see that in his writing, that he would emotionally react to what he saw in front of him. He's probably quite a sensitive guy as well. But we see here at the beginning of the book that God is calling Jeremiah. And when he does that, he does so by encouraging him with these words. "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." Before Jeremiah was even a clump of cells, before there was anything even to know, God knew him. God knew Jeremiah. He knew everything that he would do. He knew everything that he was like. And God knew him. And also before Jeremiah was born, before he'd even done anything that could define him, before he'd even done anything to earn him anything, he had been set apart, he had been consecrated, he had been chosen to be a prophet, God's speaker to Israel, someone who spoke God's words. And we can see this. It says, "I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." And you notice that in all of this, it is God who is doing the forming. That in verse 5 says, "Before I formed you," like a potter who skillfully manipulates the clay to make whatever he wants to make and whatever purpose it will be for. God had skillfully formed Jeremiah to be exactly the person for the job that he had in mind for him. That is, a prophet to his people at this time in history. Now, we must be careful not to insert ourselves into the text here and to over-apply this to ourselves. However, underlying this, there is a principle. And that is this, that before each of us were born, before each of us had even done anything, God knew us. God had formed us to be whatever he wanted us to be. And so, God has placed you in a situation at a time like this for a specific reason. God has something in mind for you, just like he had something in mind for Jeremiah. And God has formed you, whether that be your personality, whether it be your circumstances, whether that be wherever you are. God has formed you to be the way you are because you are the person for the job that he has in mind for you. And so I would like to encourage you that if you are feeling dissatisfied with who you are, if you are feeling dissatisfied with how God has made you, I'd like to encourage you, God has made you just the way that he wants you to be. And I would like to challenge you to pray to God, to ask God, what is it you want for me to do in this time? Certainly we are living in unusual times. And so God might have something for you. God will have something for you to do, whether that be small or big. Now is the time. to ask God for what He wants you to do at this time.